AI systems are not just simple tools anymore. They're becoming these dynamic partners in how we do business. But with all that power comes a whole new world of risk. We're talking about risks that can learn, evolve, and sometimes fail in ways we just can't predict. If you don't have a plan, you're really just flying blind. And that's exactly why a structured framework isn't just some nice to have, it's absolutely essential.
So how do we actually build that plan? Well, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig into what makes AI risk such a unique and tricky challenge. Then, we'll introduce the solution, the NIST framework. We'll break down its 4 core functions, see them in action with a real-world example of a hiring tool, and finally, talk about how you can weave this all into the very DNA of your organization.
All right, let's start with a big problem. Why do we even need a special framework just for AI? Well, it's because AI is a completely different kind of beast. And honestly, our old risk models just can't keep up.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter, right? We're not dealing with predictable, rule-based software anymore. We are trying to manage systems that can literally change their own processes. And a lot of the time, how they do it is a complete black box to us. That's not just a tech problem, that is a huge business uncertainty.
And this is exactly where things get so complicated. I mean, an AI model that looks like a total rock star in a controlled lab can become completely unreliable out in the chaos of the real world. That gap between testing and deployment, that's where all the risks start to pop up. On top of that, there's no industry-wide agreement on how we even measure trustworthiness. And then you have this really common but dangerous assumption that AI is always objective. Put it all together, and you've got a perfect storm of uncertainty. This is exactly why we need a new playbook.
And that new playbook comes from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, as you probably know them. They've developed a risk management framework, the RMF, that is specifically designed to tackle all those unique AI challenges we just talked about.
Okay, take a look at this. This visual really shows the core of the framework. The first thing you'll probably notice is that it's a cycle, right? It's not a straight line. With that govern function right at the heart of it all, this is not a one-and-done kind of deal. It's a living, breathing process designed to embed risk management deep into your company's culture, making sure it can adapt and evolve just as fast as your AI does.
So let's break that cycle down. The whole framework is built on these 4 core functions: govern, map, measure, and manage. Let's take a look at what each of these actually means when you put them into practice.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with govern. Think of it as the foundation for the entire framework. This is where you set the rules of the game, all the policies, the strategies, the roles and responsibilities. It's all about making sure everyone knows who's responsible for what and ensuring that AI risk is a top-level concern, not just some problem you toss over to the data science team.
Okay, next up is the map function. You can think of this as your reconnaissance mission. I mean, you can't manage a risk if you can't find it, right? So this is all about documenting the system's context, what its purpose is, and every single person it could possibly affect. That way, you can spot potential problems way before they actually happen.
So, once you've mapped out the whole landscape, it's time to measure. This is where those abstract worries and concerns become concrete data. You'll use specific tools and metrics to assess, analyze, and track the risks you've found, giving you a really clear picture of what you're actually up against.
And finally, with a clear map and some solid measurements in hand, you can manage. This is the action phase. Based on the potential impact, you'll prioritize each risk and then create a plan to treat it. You'll decide whether to mitigate it, transfer it, avoid it, or just accept it, making sure every single decision lines up with your organization's overall strategy.
Okay, so theory is great, but let's make this real. We're going to walk through a quick example of how a team would use this framework to tackle one of the most common and frankly scariest AI risks out there: bias in an AI hiring tool.
We'll do this in 2 key steps. First, we'll set the scene and watch the map function in action. And then we'll dive into how the team would actually go about measuring the specific risk of bias that they uncover. So here's our scenario. A company is about to roll out a brand new AI tool that's designed to automatically screen resumes. This is a super common use case, and it's one that comes with a ton of responsibility. So the team gets to work on the map function. Right away, they flag this as a high-risk application. I mean, it directly impacts people's careers. They start mapping out all the dependencies, like the fact that it relies on a third-party large language model, or LLM, which brings its own whole set of risks. They identify every single stakeholder, from the job applicants themselves to the HR department and the company's legal team. And this whole process leads them straight to the #1 risk. The AI could end up making biased, discriminatory hiring decisions.
Now that the risk of bias is clearly on their map, the team has to move to the next logical function, measure. They can't just say, it might be biased. They have to find a way to actually assess and quantify that risk.
So how do you actually measure bias? This is where they bring in the heavy-duty quantitative tools. They might use a structured set of metrics like this SAFE framework you see here to really focus their analysis on fairness and accuracy. And this isn't just guesswork. They would use specific statistical tests, something like a DeLong test, for example, to mathematically verify if the model's decisions are truly fair across different demographic groups. And if those tests reveal bias, that's when the manage function kicks in to fix it, and the govern function makes sure those test results get reported all the way up to leadership for a final call on deployment.
So, we've seen the framework, and we've seen an example of it in action. But the final, and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle is making sure this framework doesn't just live in a silo with the AI team.
This quote really just nails it. You can't treat AI risk like it's some separate, special category. It absolutely has to be fully baked into your organization's overall enterprise risk process.
And here's what that integration actually looks like. You literally plug AI risk into the processes you already have. It becomes a standard topic in your annual enterprise risk assessments. It's a key checkpoint when you're onboarding new AI vendors, and maybe most importantly, you get those AI risks documented in your central risk register, treating them with the exact same gravity as any other major business risk.
So, at the end of the day, the NIST framework gives us the playbook we need, a clear, repeatable process to govern, map, measure, and manage AI risk. It provides that structure we need to turn all that uncertainty into manageable action. The final question isn't if you'll face AI risk, it's how you're going to prepare for it. So how will you integrate these principles into your organization's risk culture?